We're back in the Gunners Club.
And welcome you here with us, and Happy New Year to you all.
And what a good 2024 it's becoming.
And can I say to you, congratulations on 50,000 views. Well done.
To both of us. It's not bad. And to our viewers.
Absolutely. Thanks for being part of it. Now, what have I got in my glass?
I believe it's the next video. Isn't it Japanese?
Japanese, is it Suntory?
Yes, it is.
I don't know if you saw Bill Murray in the film Lost in Translation, the film that's set in Japan, and he's brought over to advertise Suntory whiskey. And it's that memorable line that he keeps saying, "Good times, Suntory times."
No, I don't.
Ah, you've missed it. That's one for you at
Okay.
home to have a look at. But you were over for Christmas period.
Yes.
And I just so happened to have a Tarantino movie on.
I didn't even realise that was a Tarantino movie.
And you'd never seen it before either.
No.
We were watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. It never occurred to me that was a Tarantino movie.
I think for me, it's going back to the old days of almost like the road movies, the buddy movies, really.
Oh, yeah.
It had that sort of feeling. What I love about Tarantino is the expectation that there's going to be violence sometime, let's say eventually. I love the dramatic pauses that are involved. And I love the fact that you get to spend some time with some people who you're revolted by, frankly. But often you get to spend time with people who you'd love to spend even more time with. It's that much fun.
I mean, the Tarantino movies, when it comes to mind with me, is From Dusk Till Dawn. Mm-hmm. And who can forget Salma Hayek?
It's like looking at the sun, isn't it? Leaves a bit of a shadow trace there.
And Cheech and Chong, only one. And I can't figure out which one it is. Can you let me know which one's in the movie, Cheech or Chong? And of course, Kill Bill.
Born in the East LA.
Yeah. Kill Bill. Oh my God.
I think I got into Tarantino quite early. So I think 92 was the first film that he produced. But before then, he'd actually written for a number of films, things like Natural Born Killers.
Yes, I've
that
seen
was
that.
his work.
Yes.
So he discovered quite early on that all he needed to become a writer
Is lots
was
of
a
blood
pen.
and gore?
Well, basically just a pen. He liked to use two different pens and he used to use a big notepad to jot things down on. And that's all he really needed to get that going. And a couch to sleep on, preferably a friend's couch, so he could really start off on a shoestring. But 92 Reservoir Dogs came out. And the music that he used, I mean, it was so dramatic against the black suits that these guys were wearing. And also just the matter-of-fact violence to it. I think the first film that he did, Reservoir Dogs, really taught us to expect the violence, the characterizations, the pastiches that became synonymous with the name Tarantino. But also what was so great about that film was it was set in a warehouse. It was set in a warehouse, so with the money that he earned doing the bit part as an Elvis impersonator on The Golden Girls, I kid you not, he had the money to start production of that film. And by golly, he wasn't going to let anyone take it from him. So all he needed was a warehouse or one set take. And that was essentially what he had for Reservoir Dogs.
Does that mean we're going to be upcoming Tarantinos? We're doing it in a warehouse.
Not long after that film came out, I remember that they'd done all the scouting for the sites and where they were going to film that. And the maker contacted Tarantino and let him know. And he said, well, I've already got the sites done. So they used the locations that they found for Killing Zoe. And that came out in the cinemas in Australia in 93. And it had a lot of that same sort of violence in it as well.
I've never heard of that one.
Yeah.
Killing Zoe, is it an Australian?
It was released in the cinemas in 93 in Australia. And I went along and saw that with a friend.
Okay.
It wasn't until 94 that he really erupted all over the world, won the Palme d'Or for Pulp Fiction.
What a movie.
By that stage already, his second movie that he was producing, he was able to command whoever he wanted to be in front of the camera and to get the funds that he wanted as well. We won't talk too much about Weinstein. Wonderful.
Samuel L. Jackson and
Bruce Willis and the resurrection of John Travolta as well as a movie star.
Yes.
And that dance scene with Uma Thurman. Magic.
Yes, it was. But we went to a couple of what were they, truck stops?
Yes,
that
yeah,
were
the drive-ins, do
sort
you
of
mean, or?
slightly in that genre of the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
They were set up like that.
There's less and less of those available now.
And it's a shame.
Yeah. We did find one out at Deniliquin, actually, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
A couple of months
That's
ago.
right.
That was a bit
Yep.
of fun. Again, a great film about that, with people doing horrible things to each other. There was dramatic pauses. There was exaggerated reactions where the camera would not focus on the person speaking, but the person doing the reaction, so we could actually live through it and
Yep.
wince through it for everything that was said. His disdain of product placement, so creation of his own products. Things like the Kahuna burger that doesn't actually exist
Yeah.
in real life, but there it was on screen and we all know about it. And spending time with people who really you would walk across the street to avoid them, but in the cinema you just wanted to be in their pocket and to be part of what was going on. So much fun. And I think this is what's so great about Tarantino, is that he can use the American culture, which has got 200 years more in terms of occupied America than what Australia does, and a population that's about 13 times the size as well. So he's got that wealth to draw on. And sometimes he can do that even inside a small location like he did for Reservoir Dogs. And also for a recent film which I was watching, Hateful Eight, which was done about 12 years ago.
Yes.
But for that one again, 2/3 of the film essentially, you're either in a stagecoach or you're inside a big
Log
haberdashery
cabin. Yeah.
in Wyoming, and there's
Yeah.
a snowstorm outside. These are films, I think, Reservoir Dogs and Hateful Eight, that would lend themselves very easily to the stage.
And think of the blood splatter you can have into the first few
Now,
few
you're
rows
thinking of
seats.
Django Unchained, aren't you, when
Yeah.
it comes to true splattering of blood, you know? And he's a person who
It's,
still likes...
audience participation.
Well, he doesn't believe in using basically 3D, so he'd go for the squib packs. But you can remember moments like Pulp Fiction where they're cleaning the detritus of a kill of the interior of the car.
Yeah, cleaner. Yeah, call in the cleaner.
But I think he's unabashed in drawing from other cultures. It doesn't have to be just the brashness of American culture. He can also take some of the sophistication of Japan or Hong Kong. I mean, have a look at Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Oh,
We've
yes.
got Uma Thurman, and she's dressed basically in the catsuit to all intents and purposes
Yep.
of Bruce Lee.
Yes.
Yes.
That yellow. Yes.
Yes, and then you've got Lucy Liu as well, and she's dressed just immaculately and petitely and beautifully, and the sword play.
And that sword play where she takes off the head of one of
That's right. Poor Lucy
at
Liu.
the table. Yeah. Oh my God.
This is an interesting chap, Tarantino, because I tell you what he's done. He's drawn back actors that we've forgotten, actors that maybe didn't have a role for 20 years, and I'm not just talking about Harvey Keitel or...
Well, even Bruce Willis was
Willis.
at towards the end of his career when
Yeah.
when he brought into this, and didn't he suddenly soar again after that?
Yes, but what he's also done is bring back music of the period and culture of the
Yeah.
period. I mean, have a look at Pulp Fiction, where he's got the retro Cadillac seats when
Yep.
you go into the gaming place where they go to eat, and you get to sit in the back of an old Cadillac
Yep.
and to eat things like that. So it's bringing all of that back.
I wonder how long they had to do those dance scenes in that thing where they were going for that prize, that dance-off prize.
I was watching some behind-the-scenes footage of that today,
Okay.
and I have a feeling not very long at all, because he's actually a natural dancer and he still kept it. Now, if you have a look at him dancing, you'll remember it was a great scene. Go back and have a look at it. I used to ballroom dance 5 days a week for 3 years, so I sort of had a period of my life where dancing was important. Have a look at him
I thought there
dancing.
was something odd about you.
I tell you, if you're a young man and you want to enjoy the company of women, take up dancing. It's the best thing I can tell you to do. And if you're a young man, you prefer the company of men, it's also a good tip as well. So if you're a young man, what
Or
I'm
if
telling you to do...
prefer man buns, that's, whatever you're
I'm
into.
telling you, if you're a young man, take up dancing. If someone laughs at you, you are the one who'll be laughing at them at the end.
That's a good
But
point.
have a look at him dancing, and have a look at how he's basically on point. He's on point. He's on his toes when he's dancing, almost like a ballerina. It's beautiful. So I don't think there was many takes that had to be done on that at all. You can see some stuff off camera. behind-the-scenes footage where Uma Thurman's wiggling in the background and you can see her practicing for it. I think they were pretty much on form for it already. But her dancing is a lot less technical and a lot less dramatic than what his was, which was just ultra cool. I mean, the sweep of the hands across the eyes and stuff like that is easy dancing, but his footwork, as always, it's meticulous. This is an interesting cat, Tarantino, because he's self-imposed a limit of 10 movies for his whole career. So this is what we call curating. He's curated his museum. He's got 10 hooks for 10 films. Can you imagine that? That's really something. Imagine if Michelangelo said, well, I've got X amount of paintings in me, rather than coming to a natural conclusion. So that's what he's done.
So what number is he up to?
Well, so he's sort of cheated by counting ones that he's written but not produced, or ones where he's only produced a small section to go into a film, and also by splitting Kill Bill, although it's 2 films, and counting it as 1 film. So he's done 9. So he's got 1 hook left to fill in the museum.
But how good is it when he makes his cameos in them? That is just brilliant.
I mean, they're a bit of fun. I don't know how brilliant they are.
No, I think they're brilliant.
Okay, it's a bit like watching the old Marvel films where you'd know that Stan Lee would turn up.
Yes,
the Spider-Man
exactly,
film or something like that. But the title for the last film is going to be The Film Critic, which is kind of interesting, thinking that we are talking about his films right now. I've talked about him bringing back actors who we haven't seen on camera for a while. But there's some actors, in fact, many actors he'll bring for multiple films, like DiCaprio he'll use for multiple, Brad Pitt he'll use for multiple, Kurt Russell.
Yep.
Samuel L. Jackson has been in how many of his films, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, he stands out in...
Six
Really?
of his films, yes.
I mean, he's a standout, obviously, in Pulp Fiction, but I just off the top of my head, I can't remember what other thing he's in.
Hateful Eight.
Of course he is.
He was really one of the major characters of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, 6 of them. Go through and have a look at that.
Wow. Okay. Well, he's obviously a good fit for his type of movies.
He is, and I think he gets to trust the actors that he works with as well. There's a New Zealand stunt lady called Zoe, and she did a lot of the dramatic stunts which you see in his films, particularly in Kill Bill 1 and 2. It's her running up and down the stairwell and doing all that amazing stuff. And he actually trusted her as the lead actress for one of his films as well, like Bulletproof.
Huh.
So Bulletproof is a good case in point because I have a look at the brashness, the evocation of American culture, Americana, in his films and think, well, what he does so well and what do we do well in Australia? Well, Australia's a bit different. Our films can be very, very violent. Now, there's a lot of grotesque things happening in his film. Even he has a film called Grindhouse. I mean, Grindhouse alludes to the cinemas that would show schlock, horror, walls painted with blood sort of stuff. That's what Grindhouse means. He had a film called Grindhouse. Right?
Of course he did.
It's the sort of stuff he does. It's sort of something that troubles me slightly, that I actually like to read thrillers and I like to read horror, like I like to read Stephen Donaldson or Stephen King.
And why does it trouble you?
Because by necessity there must be some suffering for that to happen. So it says something about my psyche and people's psyche.
Are you feeling
that
your
candle
suffering?
still burns. No, not myself.
You obviously need another drink.
But what I'm trying to compare is how Australians do violence compared to how Tarantino does violence. Now, for Tarantino, nasty things will happen, but you will be at the camera looking at the back of a person perpetrating something. Or something horrible will happen and you'll see the result of it. And then the comic moment after it's actually happened, a choice remark or someone picking up a severed ear and speaking into it saying, hello, can you hear me? Do you get what I'm saying? Rather than actually witnessing the brutality for every single infinite second of it happening. It's on the perpetual motion, what you're saying. If it's Australian, you're going to see the whole thing. And it's going to be even more matter-of-fact and offhand than that. So, for example, if you're watching some of the old crime stuff that we had, I was watching Blue Murder, that TV series from the ABC, which spawned...
Yes.
Now, some of the stuff which goes on there is frankly bewildering and so matter-of-fact, but you were there with the camera for every single second that happens. The remarks that can be said afterwards are so pithy that I think would even make Tarantino blush. but it's not the dramatic build-up and that the violence will eventually happen. It just happens, and deal with it. Even some of our films like Mad Max are pretty much like that as well.
Yes, that's very true.
I think for his films, the closest that he's got to an Australian sensibility would be Bulletproof, which is basically a lot of big American muscle cars in a road, ladies strapped to the cars, and you're seeing the full collisions and things like that going on. Kurt Russell in it as well.
I've heard of that, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Well, it's there to watch.
Wow. Okay.
So what
I'm
I've
gonna
just
look for
tried
that
to
one.
do is marry up the Australian psyche to the American there. What we don't have is the depth of music that you have. And also, our race relations in Australia are a lot more hidden than what they are in America.
True.
Now, Tarantino is
Although,
unashamed.
not of late, we've just had a referendum.
We have. I don't think that we're as open on the cinema as what they are in America, particularly with Tarantino. Now, he's not ashamed to bring race relations language and even defamatory language to the screen, because the actors that he takes of different races understand the context behind it
Yep.
and the reason it's being used.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just putting that out there. But you can see that in a lot of his most recent films, things like Django Unchained, you can see the race relations. Jackie Brown is my favourite Tarantino film. Again, you're spending time with people that you
Jackie
want to be
Brown
with.
is a Tarantino film.
Yes, it is. Yep. So you've got Robert De Niro in it. You've got some Samuel L. Jackson.
I've got some catching up to do.
Yeah. So not a book that he
Wow.
wrote. It's a remake, essentially. So the book was written decades before. It's a remake of that book. But it's my favourite one. What would be, Seuss, to which you say Gunner, what would be your favourite Tarantino movie?
Oh, it has to be a toss-up. There's three, only because they're the most memorable to me. It's got to be Kill Bill 1. Kill Bill 2 doesn't. Kill Bill 2 doesn't ring the same bells for me as number one. Mm-hmm. It somehow lost it in the second one a little bit.
But how good to see Daryl Hannah back on stage.
Yeah, with the eye patch.
Yeah, she nursed me through puberty. you
Yeah.
realise?
And then most definitely Pulp Fiction.
Fiction.
That's just
With
there.
Reservoir Dogs as an outside ringer for him?
I liked it very much. It doesn't rate up there as far as I'm concerned. So we got Pulp Fiction, we got Kill Bill, and I've got to say my ultimate favourite, Dusk Till Dawn, only because you know how it got you through the night?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was Salma Hayek for me with Dusk Till Dawn.
For me, unequivocally, it's Jackie Brown. Love to know what you think, though.
Those South American ladies really have it over them. Oh my God.
Happy New Year to you. We'll see you soon. Make sure you let us know why we're wrong and what's your favourite.
Oh yeah. You're going to have to go a long way to tell us how we're wrong. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next one.
And do us a favour, go back and see one of our films that you haven't seen before. There's a lot in the library. There's something you'll enjoy.
Good on ya.